Now, you're in a university, and as I said to a couple of our people this morning, in a university you get to ask questions, you get to think about and talk about things that are perhaps not easy to talk about. And I've been asked to talk about the space in between, and I've been given 20 minutes to do that. And I'm here to explain to you the place where your denomination, where you as a diocese really are. You're in a place called the space in between. And I need to tell you that it's not a comfortable space. It's not a pretty space. But it is God's space. And I want to know what you're going to do about it. So I just want to explain something about the space in between and where we are, and something about what the Missional Network is doing with you in collaboration and partnership. But I also want to put the work back amongst you, because if you as the lay people and the lay leaders of this diocese do not take up the work of the space in between, you will not exist in 10 years. You didn't hear me. Right? And I'm saying that in light of the fact that you have really good diocesan leadership. You really have a good bishop. A good bishop isn't necessarily an oxymoron. Hopefully the guy's gone. But I'm actually saying that because in working with pretty well every denomination across North America, in Canada, the United States, actually Bishop Mark is unusual because he's asking hard questions that don't have easy answers. And he's not looking for easy answers. And he's willing to go on a journey, which is a really tough journey to go on. I need to tell you that that's unusual leadership, because it may be New Testament leadership. But if you, as the people of God, don't take up the journey of the space in between, you are going to be in such deep weeds, you won't know what to say or do. That's the good news. There's actually a lot of great things to say about the space in between, and I want to say that this afternoon to you briefly, but I want to show you a video which is called Did You Know 4.0. And I just want you to think of the images and some of the things, because this video is about one thing and one thing only. It's about change. It's about discontinuous change. It's about what's happening around you every moment that you exist. And it has an incredible effect on the community called Christ Church. So let's just watch this very short video. Then I only have 15 minutes, and you'll be able to rest. Is that okay? You all right?
Yep. Okay.
Remember, I'm a Canadian. Okay? I come with warning labels. Did you know the mayor of Toronto? Oh, sorry. We'll talk about that. Okay, let me tell you what the problem with this video is. Do you know what the date is today? 2014? Is that right? You know this video? 5 years old. Okay? And it's talking about change. But I use it all the time, not because it hasn't been updated, but it gives you kind of some idea of the time warp of change. Right? So think about change in terms of being a Christian in North America. Think about change in being an Episcopalian here in Newark. Okay, if you could put something up for me. You could put the picture, actually the one before that. Here's where I think we are. And I say we because you see I'm an Anglican. And you spell Anglican in Canada EPIS. Okay? We're Episcopalians. So I'm a member of an Episcopalian. I'm a functioning member of an Episcopalian church. In my Diocese of Toronto, we are closing 90 churches this coming year. 90. The person that is doing it is now called Dr. Death. That is the reality of the Christian church. So if you can just put up the one of the swinging bridge. It's the one, there we go. Okay? This is where I think we are. This is, do you know what kind of bridge this is? It's a suspension bridge, right? It's in Canada. It's the Capilano Suspension Bridge, and it's in North Vancouver. And it's one of those kind of bridges that you love to go on. Or you love to let somebody who is a bit of a brat. Do you know any bratty people? Are there any bratty people in the room? If you're a brat, put your hand up. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Okay? They're the people that go on the bridge when you're on the bridge and they do this. And do you know what happens to you? You start going up and down. And actually, if you go out in the middle of that bridge and you take a look down, you're looking down 250 feet to the bottom. Right? To be on that suspension bridge, actually, as secure as it seems, is a very scary experience. I want to say to you that most mainline Christian churches and denominations today are in that place on the suspension bridge. The old ways of doing things, the old ways of what used to work, are no longer available to us. And we need to recognize that and accept that. And I would suggest to you that we're in this place, if Peter, if you put the next slide up, we're in this place of a hedge maze. And my wife and I were in France this summer, and we went to look at a chateau, and this chateau had one of these mazes, and it was amazing. You get that one? You almost have to be a Canadian to get that one. It was amazing, right? The truth is that there was this kind of thing where you start on the outside and you had to try to find your way in the middle, and it was very difficult. And the church is in that maze, and it's a place where there's a lot of anxiety. Did you know that we can no longer afford clergy in lots of places? Did you know that we can no longer afford insurance? Did you know that there are places within our diocese that we can no longer afford because they are our churches? Do you know that we struggle financially in all sorts of places? Did you know that we seem to not have as many members as we used to? In fact, we're down 55%. When we do the question, if you had 3 wishes for your faith community, what would they be? People say, we want more people in the pews, more money in the plate, and more young people. And there's nothing wrong with any of those kind of things. But that's not our reality. And we could spend a lot of time saying, okay, why has the church gone this way? And some of us will talk about being in a postmodern world. Some of us will talk about the effect of secularism. Some of us will talk about new religions. Some of us will talk about, all sorts of things. There's all sorts of things why we can rationalize and give good reason about where we are. But I'd like to tell you that we're in that space, which is an anxious space. It's an ambiguous space. It's a new space. But the great thing is God's space. So what does it mean to be in the space in between? It's a very simple kind of thing that we're trying to say to you about that. We're trying to say to you a number of things. We're trying to say to you that the existing skills and capabilities and the ways that we have been doing church over this last decade no longer work. We're saying that our seminaries are no longer training people in seminary to take up the world in which they have to minister. We're saying to you that a pastoral care model of doing a church no longer works. I'm going to be in trouble within 13 seconds, okay? So just count down the seconds. We're saying that there needs to be a new leadership style. We're saying that clergy need to learn new leadership skills in order to be able to lead their parish in the place where they need to go. We're saying to you that we are too clergy-centric. You know what that means? That we have expectations of our clergy to be experts, to give us the answers, and to lead the way. And, oh, by the way, lead the way we want them to lead. Okay? We're saying to you that those new skills and new abilities need to be learned. And there's a space in between what was known and what is unknown, and that's God's new future. And one of the good things that your denomination is doing, your diocese is doing, is that they're risking to move into that new space, even though they don't know how to do it, even though they don't know what it's going to look like in the end, and even though there's lots of skills and abilities and things to be learned. Did you hear me on that?
Yeah.
That's a risky place to be. But that's God's place. Because we would say to you that the center of missional transformation is that God is an active God and God is out in front of us. We would say to you that God is doing things amongst you and is preparing you, preparing your churches, your parishes, your leaders in ways that we don't even know, and that we're on a journey of discernment to figure out what's the Spirit of God up to amongst us. And we are asking you to go on that discernment journey. So I want to ask you, because you're the key leadership here. Notice there's not a lot of those clergy types around. I mean, some of you. And remember, I'm the guy that loves the clergy, so don't read anything. You are the people here. How many of you people are willing to go into this journey? How many of you people really believe that God is in the midst of that future and wants to be with you and take you to a new future? Because it's only as you say yes to God in the midst of that that we as a diocesan are going to move into this with strength. And we can't necessarily be dependent on our clergy to be doing all the work to take us there. They do have their role. But we as congregations need to be doing a lot of this. So the space in between, again, is that place, that space between what is known and what is unknown. That's God's new future. And it requires having a new perspective, a changed way of thinking, a new imagination. And here's some of the attitudes we need to have. We need to believe that God is the active agent and is out in front of us. So let me ask you a theological question. Am I allowed to do that amongst Episcopalians? Where's the Spirit of God? Sorry? I'm not quite hearing you. Everywhere. The Spirit of God is among the people of God. So don't you think that if the Spirit of God is amongst the people of God, that the answers for the future of what God wants for His people is where? Right here. Right? For 40 years, we've been putting new programs in front of you in order to capture all this change and try to capture all the stuff that's there. What we're doing that's different is we're inviting you to discern the presence and the Spirit of God amongst you. To discern that and ask the question, what is God up to? How do we follow and join hands with what God is doing? And how is that going to change us as a diocese as we do that? So we're asking you to go on a journey of discernment. I can't tell you what you're going to look like. And you know what? I don't care. Not because I don't care about you, but because I believe and know that this is God's work. And as we take our hands off power and control, and remember, we're control-centric as Episcopalians. If a book hasn't been written about it, it doesn't exist. Right? Got to have the right books. Can I recommend a book for you? You know what I mean? This is about God's presence amongst you and discerning that and having the courage to follow that. So it's new attitudes. It's having a new biblical imagination. I'm going to finish this off by reading to you Luke 10, because the call on you as the people of God is to become Luke 10 people. It means attending the Scriptures in a new way. I said to people this morning, I have 3 years of Greek, 2 years of Hebrew, 5 years of Latin, believe it or not. Semper ubi sabubi, always wear underwear. My Latin teacher knew Caesar personally. I know. We leave all that to the experts when we, as the people of God, need to be reading the Scriptures with new eyes, with new habits, and being able to see where God is going in the midst of this. So it means having a new biblical imagination. It means having new disciplines. It means having new attitudes, new habits. And it means being flexible, being open, and constantly looking for what God is up to. Because when we're in this process with a denomination or a diocese, we know one thing. God shows up in the most unexpected places, amongst the most unexpected people. So don't dismiss anybody around your table from your parish, because God's presence is there. Where's the Spirit of God? Sorry? Right here, amongst the people of God. And we need to go back and honor that and listen to that and pray through that and be part of spiritual disciplines. We need to be having a new biblical imagination. We need to be constantly asking that question, what's God up to? And one of the things that happens is that God is sending us out of our churches, which sometimes have become closed clubs. Oh, okay. That's only in Canada. Sorry. Sorry, I missed that. Right? Have become closed clubs. But God is actually sending us out into the community to discern what He's up to and to ask different questions. Because if God is the active agent out there, and God's doing something amongst you, and God is doing something in your neighborhoods, and we need to recapture in our imagination what that might mean. So the Missional Network, working in collaboration with you, because we're not the experts, and we're funny kind of consultants. Right? We're not telling you how to do it. We're not telling you what you're going to look like. We can talk to you about a process and invite you into that process. We have insights into that, but we're not the experts. And 3 of the financial people just said in their inner voice, why did you hire them? Right? So here's the thing. I want to read Luke 10 to you. When you read Luke 10, it seems like a really nice passage. It's a nice passage. It's one of those nice passages, right? Okay. But if you look underneath it, I just want to tell you, it's disruptive. When you look under some of the things that Jesus is saying, it's really messy. Like, it's really messy. It's not easy. It needs courage. It needs the same kind of courage that your diocesan leadership has been taking to go on this journey, because they're not saying this is the next flavor of the month. They're saying we want to know what God's up to.